Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another video. And today I'm going to start by looking at gold. And the reason I'm looking at gold to start with is because it paints a little bit of a picture for our macro environment and risk on environment. And then I'm going to talk about cryptos like Bitcoin. We're going to look at ETH and a couple of altcoins. And we're going to finish strongly with XRP because I've got some exciting things to talk about with XRP. So that's the format of this video. So just to start with, gold. I was writing about in the Weekly Insight this week, the free weekly newsletter with a link in the description below. Also, sorry, I'm a bit nasal. I've got a bit of a cold today. But what we've been looking for, and whether it comes or not, I don't know. What we've been looking for gold is a pullback, a short-term pullback, either into weak support here, which is where I've identified this area. This was mainly based on the 3-day time frame. Let me show you. Basically, when we look at support levels for things, we're looking at areas where structure changes. So we have a push up and then we have a consolidation. The top of that and then the bottom of that is the range that you then form. And then when that structure breaks again, then that's potentially the support area. Again, the same here. This applies to any chart as well. A push up, a pullback, that's the range, and then we continue. Maybe that's the weekly that I've got these ranges drawn in. I mainly use candle closes for these ranges here. Look. So the strong supports on the weekly and the weak supports for the 3-day for those ranges. And that's how I create these areas for key areas of interest. We also have areas like this 3 daily candle here, this big green candle. This is called a fair value gap, essentially where we haven't come back and back tested this open candle. So there's a bit of TA for you to start this video, but getting into it, what we can see is that as we pushed up into this range, that we're still trading in now, so you could say that between 3,430 and 3,170, we've slowed down in terms of price action. We can see that very clearly. This is quite a clear momentum to the upside, and then we've got to this area and we've stalled out. At the same time, we've started to create bearish divergence all the way from back here, where the RSI is saying, look, momentum's slowing, and you can see that also by price action. Now, what does this mean? Well, gold is an asset people go to when they're scared of conflict and they're uncertain, this sort of thing. So what I'm looking for and have been saying for like 6 months is I would like to see gold break down, not necessarily nuke down, like shoot down, but just like maybe a slow breakdown or fast, doesn't really matter. Because what I think that would signal is that people are moving from uncertain assets into risk-on assets, like crypto and equities. I think you're starting to see a little bit of that anyway, as the S&P has obviously closed last week at all-time highs. Yesterday it looks potentially to be opening a little bit lower, but for the S&P, for example, we had this like bearish divergence happening as well, where we were starting to make higher highs with lower highs on the RSI, but the RSI's broken that trend, and we talked about that also in the newsletter this week. So is this signaling, look, we're going into this parabolic phase of the market? Is risk on, like, back on the table? And if so, when are we going to see this liquidity flow into crypto? I think if gold starts to pull back, that will be significant for crypto generally, and that's what I'll be looking for as more like of a confirmation for crypto. Now I'm going to take us to the daily and just look at Bitcoin. What we've been looking at is this short-term little descending trend line, and it has respected it averagely well. We broke above it, and then we've kind of held it as support, and we're still holding, waiting to see if we can get that move to the upside. Now we're going to look at liquidity a little bit. We're looking at liquidity now to start with on the hourly for Bitcoin, and then we're going to start getting into some more interesting, charts, in my opinion. I mean, they're all pretty interesting right now. I think that we're teeing up for something big, essentially. Well, on the hourly for Bitcoin, what we can see is we've got this dense liquidity above us, and what's been happening is Bitcoin's essentially just coiling here. It doesn't know where to go, Probably some manipulation, low volume over the weekend, fake to the downside, push up, and then now look how wide the variance is compared to how wide it was here. It's like a 0.5% range between like here and here. And then as we started to break out, you can see that the volatility, like this is the range now where it was just like that small before. So for me, when I look at crypto, when I look at charts generally, it's like these bars represent people's psychology and almost energy in a way. And then when we've had this consolidation, we start to get this breakout and it's starting to coil up. and we're starting to make higher lows, and at some point this is going to release one way or another. It could come down here, or it could go up there, as I've indicated. I feel like it's more likely to go to the upside based on the amount of liquidity we have up here. I think it's going to go there at some point, but the question is, do we come down first? And the answer to that question, I really don't know. But as I've been saying, any dips right now are absolute blessings. That was the first line of my newsletter this week. If we get a dip, it's an absolute blessing. Dips are for buying right now. I'm all in. I'm literally all in right now. I've got no spare capital on the side. I've even removed my XRP bids from below. I have some capital that I live on that I may deploy if we do get the pullback into leverage positions, but I've even reduced and removed my XRP limit bids, which are in at about between 180 and 190 for XRP, and I've deployed that into crypto, into spot assets, because I think even if we get a 5-10% pullback, which we could definitely do, you can always get that in crypto. The next move is significantly higher. And we've shown you over time, every single time we get these dense areas of liquidity, we move into them, and I don't expect this time to be any different. So that's on the hourly. And now let's look on the daily for Bitcoin, because this is when it gets super exciting. And I wrote about this again on the newsletter this week, and I might actually show you that quickly. Actually, I will. Let me show you that. The weekly insight. I'm just going to show you this chart specifically. Look, what I basically said is, this is probably the start of alt season. We get into this dense liquidity here, and we're possibly in this area, depending on narratives and this sort of thing. But most probably, I think we're here. I think we're 20% in this area, 80% in this area. And the next move is an explosive move to the upside, as you can see right there. So for crypto specifically, like this area here, when we started to really break into this liquidity, that's when XRP did its major move, and that's one of the reasons I've been flagging XRP as the leader of this potential alt season that could be to come now. And with that being said, there's not too much to report on Velo. It looks pretty good. XRP is the important thing that I wanted to talk about here, and then we're going to get into XRP. If we look at XRP here, what are we doing? Very interesting movements. We're making a series of higher lows after the bottom. Sorry, you know my drawings are awful when I just do it freehand like this. We're making this, here's the low, and then since then we've made a series of higher lows, and I don't know why it's not, just Control Z, and I accidentally pressed search. But what we can also see is XRP is within a range, and let me see if I can show you that on here. I'm going to go back to Velo in 1 second, but XRP is within this range. Look, again, we find the range the same way. Let me take it to the 4 hour. I can show you why I've shown the range like this. We have the structure break here. We're consolidating, structure break to the downside, top of the range, bottom of the range. I have used wicks in this example, because look, you can see how this area has reacted as resistance and support, or support, and then when it's broke through it's broke through pretty quick, and then again reacted to the top of the range. So this is the area we've been looking at, higher lows in the range, breakout target for the range above. Okay, so what's happening is we are pushing. This is a clear uptrend. You can see the RSI is broken to the upside. If I take us to the daily, the RSI is starting to look a little bit exciting. We're above 50. We're breaking previous RSI highs. You could say it's a bearish divergence for now, but as we're continuing, I'm going to take the drawings off. As we're continuing, this to me looks more and more exciting as time goes on. Soon as we start to get closes above this, like 230, even where we are now, 228, 229, we could see an aggressive move to the upside, and that could be supported by this. Remember, a long time ago, I flagged this daily, this candle here. It was a daily or 4 hourly candle where a shitload of open interest came in just in this area here. Now, at some point, they're going to get squeezed out of their positions. We've had a massive, really significant increase in open interest in comparison to where we are in terms of price action. And that could be really the catalyst to move us into this next area, the next push for XRP. When we start to get these closes above 233, I think is really the main target. We should really see a move to the upside here for XRP, and that's my opinion. Start to close above this top of this range, look, 233, breakout target is 255, and then we're really cooking on gas then. We still have this inverse head and shoulders, which we call the bottom four. And if you read the weekly newsletter, what you'll know is the price, that I called for was 192. We came down to 190. In fact, I'm going to show you. I gave you exactly 192 for XRP. I can't remember where it was. It may have been this week, or the week after. Let me see. Let me see. Where did I do it? No, I can't see it right now. Maybe it was a... Well, I can't see it right now off the top of my head, but I gave you 192 for XRP and I gave you 2,200 for ETH and XRP. But I can't see that right now, so I'm not going to spend too long. When was this? June? We're now May. Was it May? Can't be this far back. No, I don't know. I can't see it right now. Oh yeah, here we go. 192 for XRP, and we came to, as I said, 190. And what did I say for ETH? 2,200 looks probable, and for ETH we came to 2,130. So not bad. To say this was published on the 21st. And we got that moved down there on the 22nd, so the day after there. But I obviously wrote this on the Friday, so I wrote it on the Thursday or the Friday, and gave you pretty much the bottom when other people have been calling for deeper pullbacks. And I've said that the deeper pullbacks were possible. Don't get me wrong, I've said that, and I had my bids in, as you know, and I've just told you at the start of this video. But we got the bottom absolutely nailed in the newsletter. So what I'm basically saying to you guys is, and let's look at liquidity on XRP before, to wrap this up, and I've got an XRP Bitcoin chart to show you as well. But what I'm basically saying is, guys, this is liquidity on XRP, by the way, on the daily. Super red above us. The last bit of red liquidity we had was here, 194. We took it. Now we've got the looking up towards 270 for the major liquidity, and we have some more up here at like 340. But this is why I had these bids in below, because we do have some yellow liquidity down here, but nothing like the amount that is above us. And what we're seeing is extra liquidity being built. If we take us to the hourly, you're going to get even more excited here. This is where it gets super exciting. Look how high this open interest is, and look how dense the liquidity is above us. This is where we're going to go, in my opinion. Hopefully we start to get closes above there. I want to reiterate that liquidity like this acts like fuel. It's not necessarily the end. It's where people get closed out of short positions, which means they technically have to buy, and that continues to push price up. And when you start to get these explosive moves for XRP, it's when you see significant moves to the upside. And that is what I expect is coming. And I expect it's coming sooner rather than later. Fade a Bitcoin pullback here, significant Bitcoin pullback. And XRP probably, this is Bitcoin, fade anything major coming from Bitcoin, and XRP probably leads the market for a little bit here. People aren't really calling for that, so that's my thought process. We're pushed it, we're pull flagging a little bit here, and let's try and get this momentum to take us through the top of this range and continue this uptrend that we started back on the 22nd of June by creating continual higher lows, and see if we can get this breakout towards that 255 level. Liquidity is telling us it's happening. The final thing that I want to just quickly touch on, just to say, because I think XRP is going to lead, is Bitcoin against XRP. And let's have a look at that right now. First off, I'll take all the drawings away. What we can see, I'm going to take us to the 3-day. What we can see, no, leaving the daily first. What we can see is, again, the opposite of what's happening in gold. This is a clear momentum to the downside. And since we've been in this area here, we basically had this range from the high and then down to the lows. Structure break back to the upside, so you can say this level here is the lows, or well, you'd say this level here probably is the lows if you're using wicks. You're struggling to break back above that level, or this level actually, to be fair, and then we break back up to the upside, break the structure. So we're below that, we're struggling to break back above right now, but what we can clearly see is momentum has slowed to the downside. We're kind of chopping sideways. You can see that on the RSI, it's starting to like curl up again. If we take us to the 3-day, it's even more interesting. We need to get this 3-day close above this recent cluster, and realistically it would be nice to get it above the 0.402160. But what we can see, and I'll put the drawings back on now, is if we look at the RSI, we can see we have broken this downtrend on the RSI as well. We clearly are, at least, it doesn't mean we're going to rocket from here, but we've at least broken the downside momentum. And what I've been saying for a long time, if you've been watching my channel, is What I think is going to happen is we're going to come down, we're going to sweep the lows of the range, and then we're going to continue to the upside and break out. And we're at that point right now. Whether that's today, in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't know. But 3-day candles, realistically, it's probably within a maximum of 10 to 12, like 9 to 12 days. That we at least get a retest on this downtrend, and if we continue this momentum, it could be as close as 3 to 6 days that we start to see this push to the upside. But we start closing above this descending trend line on the 3-day and the weekly, and and above this key level here that I've drawn in and talked about over on X, where it's reacted many times as support and resistance with this level. That's when we can start to get excited and look for this next leg to the upside, which I think is going to take XRP above $10 personally. This is obviously XRP against Bitcoin. We've also went into detail with XRP against XRP dominance in the weekly newsletter, talking about a completed Wyckoff accumulation, talking about how we're in the sign of strength phase and about to enter into phase E, which a lot of people think is going to top out at around 14%. And I've floated, why not take us to 20? I think we've had a long period of consolidation. We've accumulated. That's what Wyckoff accumulation is. People we wanted to accumulate have, and I think that they're more. I think that probably is enough momentum after 7 years to take us up to the 20%. I think I understand why people are talking about 14. It's a more safe bet. It's pretty obvious. It's like you're not really hanging your hat on the line to say, oh yeah, it's going to go to 20. It's much more adventurous target to try and hit 20 and above. And that's where I think we actually do head to this cycle, because I'm feeling adventurous for XRP. Similarly, XRP dominance has broken the key downtrend on the RSI at the same time as the sign of strength phase is finding support on the previous range highs. The last point of support is the LPS. So that's where we are, in my opinion, waiting for a catalyst, waiting for something to take us to the upside. Could that be an ETF? Could it be there's crypto week next week in the US? Could it be something like that? I don't know what the catalyst might be, and it could just be a purely price catalyst, like we squeeze into this area of liquidity, price really starts to run, and then we get some positive news that really starts to add that vortex sort of move to the upside. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm super excited, and I think it's imminent. I really think it's imminent. Imminent. I've said to you, and I get absolutely slaughtered if it's not within 6 days, but I think it's that close. I really do. Obviously, I'm not always right, and you can see exactly why I'm making this thought process and giving you these targets and these thoughts. Again, whether I'm right or not, I don't know. Time will tell, but you can see why I'm excited. I hope I've explained it all pretty well to you there. And if I want to just let you know, if you enjoyed the video, guys, please do subscribe. It's free and it really helps me out. Hit the like button and share it with a friend. If you want to trade leverage, I use MEXC and WEX at the minute, both non-KYC. Links to both in my description. You get bonuses if you sign up and trade on either or both. It's a great way to support me for free, and you can add some extra exchanges if you want to. You don't have to. I'm never going to force you to do anything you don't want to do. But that's all that I have to say about everything right now. Like, I'm super excited. I'm on the edge of my seat. Let me know what you guys think as well in the comments, and please do share this and subscribe if you did enjoy it, or if you've learned something. Peace up. A-Town down, as Crypto Insight UK would say.